last time on the Empire's Edge.
What is this that we're heading to?
What do you mean, see? What does that word mean?
There is a foe ahead of us. Something blocks our path. And then bursting in right into that front line, coming from around that bend, is two giant creatures.
Do not advance!
You would figure that they have an armor class of 21.
I got Zealot by
You
their
did?
armor class.
Still alive?
It's still it is still alive. And almost immediately, the two drones move forward and start butchering them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we already do that?
The soldier, we suggest you eat your fill because moving forward, it is only a day away. We need our strength before we approach the Murmuring Sea. So with that, all of the Inuriac take different positions around the area, and it really does seem that Isk and Thovit, the two warrior types, are less in a defensive mode between you three and Shatask. That they've adopted like almost a new place. Like maybe they've already decided in their own insect-like brains that you guys will stand with them in a fight and not against them in a fight.
We've
So-
demonstrated that we're
Are
comrades.
either
We've
of
proven
them
ourselves a
hurt?
little bit.
Was anybody wounded? Does anybody need healing?
There was some wound. Yeah, there were. I have to go back and think about that. I believe it was Thovit. I think both of them actually took some hits.
So should we try healing them? I want to be very careful with what I do in front of these people, or I'm going to be like ultimate pantry for them.
Oh,
Well, we've
fair.
already arranged a contract with them. You know, I'm not sure if they'd risk
yeah.
breaking the contract.
But we have no idea what their alignment may be.
Oh, no. That's not my stipulation. I'm saying they'd go, yeah, we could try and capture this one and lose about everything in the process.
Oh, fair.
That I'm not saying they wouldn't break a contract because they so would,
Yeah,
as long as it's efficient.
that
All right.
is. Yeah, whatever is a
And
deal.
we're
whatever,
dangerous enough that it's not efficient.
whatever is a deal breaker for them. That's the unknown. I think you're thinking about Zelen.
Yeah,
Would that be?
So I'm talking to Boris because Boris is the only one with healing.
I'm just
and,
gonna walk away. Fine. I have healing.
All you do is call dogs.
I do have healing. Yeah, you've also got dark vision.
Shut up. Yeah, no, I have cure wounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to do healing? And I can do it. It'll use some spell resource.
Well, it sounds like we're going to be staying here for an extended period if we're waiting for pieces to be retrieved and getting rations in. It's all a matter of whether or not we want to introduce them to a new concept of magic, because I haven't gotten the sense that they're much on healing magic.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm wondering. It could be helpful.
Ever make a perception roll?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yikes. 12.
17.
30.
Okay.
Hey, wait a minute. I have a question about making perception rolls.
Okay, ask it. She's pointing at me now in a very accusational way.
Passively, like if I'm just like hanging out, my passive perception is 19. My passive insight is 19. So how could I ever be less, like why when I'm trying do I do worse than when
think
I'm
of it
not?
like tunnel vision. If you're actively looking at one thing, you're actually unaware of some other things around you. It also depends on the DM. Because sometimes they'll use that score to avoid you having to roll dice, but
That sounded like a great explanation to me.
yeah.
I think that's, so when I'm focused on something, I can't focus on something.
When you're not the
Like if you're really enjoying
energy
jamming out,
just
listening to your
flows.
music, and someone breaks into your house and is like sneaking up behind you, how do you not know he's there? You're focusing on your music. How do you not know he's right behind you?
Of course you're going to know he's right behind you. I mean, you're not like in a semi-coma state. It just doesn't make sense to me that when I'm trying to be perceptive, or when something comes in and says, hey, see if you perceive this.
I think it's reasonable. Let's go back at some point and reread active perception, passive perception, and see if
All
there's
right.
anything that differentiates.
Okay. But anyway.
However,
She's just
Two-
upset about my 30.
that's right. So we'd be Jacob says first, guys, while we're all talking about using different kinds of magic, you're reminded that Shatask has been pretty much listening to you guys the entire time, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So you just now told her that there's yet a different kind of magic, even though you haven't used the different kind of magic. Just putting that out there. you're
Arguably,
aware
I
of it.
have, because Smitey Smite.
Yes, so she's been learning all sorts of things about you guys.
Yeah, and it's one thing to discuss theoretically such a thing could happen, and another to demonstrate.
So
Yeah.
what are you doing, Zelen? Are you actually doing some healing?
Yeah, I'm going to go and do some healing on whichever one looks worse. I'm going to do cure wounds.
Okay, yeah. So,
Neither of them are exactly lookers.
Uh,
Put them.
go ahead. Just
and I do 8 points of healing.
okay. And looks better.
Hold on. Didn't the throne do something to change that?
Oh.
Yeah,
It
it
was up
adds
to the
another
next die.
No, it adds another die of the same type.
Yeah. So you actually get you do extra good.
So just roll one more.
I'm going to choose the bigger one. So
The throne also lets you roll your second die with advantage.
So I did another 8.
Efficient.
That was very efficient and a little quirky.
All
right. So they don't make any mention of it, note of it, nor did he try to stop you when you started doing any kind of spell casting. But they're looking better that way. Over the course of the next 2 hours, many drones show up. It gets to the point where you would guesstimate there's a couple dozen of them that have come into this area.
Don't you
Yeah,
get
so
spell
if I
slots
have
back on
2
short
hours,
rests?
I'm gonna relax and get my spell slots back.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are just like
what do I
hanging
do?
out.
Do I get all my spell slots back?
You get, I think it's half your level in spell slots, no higher than 6th level.
Okay.
I get my warlock spell slots back.
I haven't casted any spells. Wait.
You haven't cast
No,
it?
wait, I did. I casted a Hunter's Mark during that last
yeah,
battle.
yeah.
You cast a hunter's mark.
I know
Yeah,
what
so I
I said.
used
like-
2 spells, so I can definitely get them both
It was the
back.
definite past tense. I casted it.
Castanets?
And over that time, these hook horrors are being slowly first exsanguinated, and then they're field dressed.
Okay, what's that word mean?
All the blood is
the
removed,
blood's taken
all
out.
the
Okay.
guts are removed, and then I'm guessing the exoskeleton is going to be used as a container.
I am so
So
ready for my
yeah,
SATs.
just
Thank you,
so
guys.
Up.
Yeah, so, but in pieces as to not waste anything, like they've done this before many times, there is very little left. That by the time these things are done and being processed, and the parts, even to the bones, are being hauled out of here, that there is very little sign, just some moisture on the cave floor, and very little else. That you've never seen something butchered. This would be for Jacob, that you've butchered many, many animals. You've field dressed them and cut them up. You've never seen so little waste ever.
I was going to
in
say,
your life.
I can't imagine ever really needing the blood for most things. Like, I would just kind of leave that
Yeah,
where
you
I
tend to
found
let
it.
them bleed out.
And
yeah.
they're like, okay, and we're going to take that too, because boy, howdy, does it make good soup. Like,
Yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
Blood pudding, blood sausage.
Blood wine.
blood orange.
How do you think you get blood oranges? No, you seriously, you water an orange tree with a cow.
then,
I'm not technically incorrect. I'm still not going to eat it.
and something else happens while you're like aware of all this butchering going on that the drones are doing. Isk and Thovit, who are usually on guard, they're standing somewhere watching in a cave's direction, seem to be actually leaving the guarding right now to Shatazk. And the two of them are in very close proximity. They're upright, that is, they're using just their back set of legs, and the other two are up and open and are in contact with the other one. And it seems as though there's some kind of a fluid being produced like from their mouth, and that they're moving it onto each other's, like the main like plates of their exoskeleton. And the patterns seem, esoteric but deliberate,
Are they healing?
that they're doing something to each other. But
If-
it's difficult
Insight to
say.
see if we
It's like
need
if we
to
get
put up
closer.
a curtain.
Yeah, really, yeah.
If we get closer, do they like back away?
14.
all right, can I save this?
That
It's
20.
a natural 20. Makes it a 29.
They're not healing each other. If anything, it looks like they're doing like minor damage to each other's exoskeleton. To put it, in the most succinct way to say what's happening, that they're etching something into the actual structure of the armor itself.
Weird kink, but okay.
And Boris, you said you can read any kind of writing.
I can read any written language.
That as they're doing this,
It's very explicitly not writing. It is a written language.
written language,
I will
yeah.
make the distinction, especially given the case of hieroglyphics.
because this does seem to be in essence like pictograms that are put onto them.
Okay.
What you believe they're doing in the symbol, it makes like sense, I guess, magically through
Mm.
however that works via Warlock. And it's Pact of the dark one? Which is that one? That's,
No, that's the Eyes of the Runekeeper
Eyes of the
invocation.
Runekeeper. That's right. Of course,
That's-
Eyes of the Runekeeper.
It better not be Pact of the Dark
I'm about
one.
to say that you shouldn't have that. Yeah. Would that be very bad?
Especially because the Dark one isn't a pact. It's
Yeah.
the Fiend and the Great Old One.
So, anyway, that you recognize
The
that,
great dark one
that the symbols, they're not exactly the same on both
Of
Thisk,
the Old.
of the old. Sorry.
on both Thisk and Ovid. They're slightly different, but they're meaning the same thing. You believe that they're like writing on each other about the hook horrors that they just now battled.
Would I understand what the concept of a kill tally is? We don't exactly have fighter jets, but, you know.
You've probably known people that, notch their sword handle or the grip or something like that. So, yeah, sure. I'd say you're aware of that.
Okay. And then I'd explain that to the other two, what I'm guessing they're doing. Any other
Like, I think-
Can you
symbols
tell which
on
one
them?
is senior by that?
I was gonna say yeah. and
Yeah, I
thinking
was about
back-
to examine them for more symbols to see if they're both just like completely green and like, first fight.
And are these what's it called, like noticeable? Like when you just like at a glance you could like see these kind of notches and like tell
Yeah,
kind
now
of like
that
rank.
yeah, now that we know they're not fingerprints, we can actually look at them.
Well, and that's exactly the
intended purpose.
case with that, Jacob, that as you're looking at them that closely, you never really studied those patterns. You might have assumed that was just how the armor formed or different colorations, one to the next, that they have a number of these different symbols on themselves that you wouldn't have known to be symbols had it not been happening right in front of you right now. And then some are very, very indistinct because as, dirt or other secretions build up, it somewhat, covers over them or washes over them. But you can tell that Isk has many, many such symbols across itself. Thovit has fewer, but still a fair number of them. And they do go to things like cave fissures, that you're pretty sure of that, Boris, that different things you've encountered already. An awful lot of other Inuriac that they've been in contact with and battled also seem to be here. And then there's also something that the language of it, the image of it, the symbol of it is difficult to pick up on and read, but you think it is something about the murmuring sea itself, that they've been to it before, that they themselves have had this test. Now, as that's happening, Isk recognizes and looks that you're watching at this process and makes some of its own like chirping and clicking sounds. And then Shatazg from her guard position says, do you wish to participate, sister cousin, and have the record of your battle engraved into yourself for all to see and to appreciate?
My armor is not biological. That kind of etching would damage it.
Yeah, if the thing could put one eyebrow up, it would have. It wasn't.
I'd imagine it's like an antenna
One
position.
antenna kind of
One antenna
bends
goes,
and the other.
No, like the little dog ear flops.
Yeah, right.
I was actually thinking it like they more pointedly aim towards whatever's confusing it because it's trying to extrapolate more data, but whatever.
And then Isk turns toward you, Boris, and in almost the exact same way that it had been in that direct contact with Thovit, it's initiating that same kind of contact. And
as it reaches, I'd take a step back and then kind of once again transmit to not Thovit, the other one, Shatazg. That this is something I just can't do.
Even though the symbols might not stay on, and it's trying to put it together, your non-organic carapace, it would be an honor to Isk to be allowed to write the combat on you.
Do you carry a shield?
I do carry a shield.
So maybe like notching the edge of the shield, maybe.
That's what I was thinking too.
My whole point is I don't want to introduce what I'm assuming is an acid to my armor because that's going to make it fragile.
Yeah.
And fragile armor does not work.
So as you back away, Isk stops and Shatazg, comes into you're blocked out of whatever communication it was, and then comes back into I would think all of your minds, not just yours, Boris.
Right.
And is seemingly speaking more toward Isk and says, there is no damage. There'll be nothing done to your body that will hurt you, but more to Isk. But it's not their way. And Isk pauses, and they return to putting those etchings on each other. As they complete their engraving on each other, that probably more for Boris, because they recognize the armor that's on you, Boris, is more like their own bodies than the armor that Jacob and Zeln are wearing, and asks through Shatask why your battles are not carved into your exoskeleton.
I just remembered I'm wearing splint, not
Like a full plate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I picture being in full plate. I don't think I've ever actually been in. So I think mine is closest, but that's kind of a big asterisk next to closest. And with that translated from Shatask, I would explain that this isn't an exoskeleton. This is a garment. It's an armored garment. Then like touching my face through the open helmet, or like pulling off a gauntlet to show my hand under it. This is the outer portion of myself.
Our history is shared through stories and songs. It's not shared through this kind of carving. And
as it's being translated, Shatask seems like just fine with this. It's a communication that for which she's very aware, and that might actually give you an insight into some other experiences that she's had that she's not shared with you. But to both Isk and Thovit, it seems like something of a wonder that Isk taps on his like torso, his thorax area, and you definitely as he taps on it, and then on his face and taps on it, and then holds out one of those limbs toward you, Boris, looking to see if you back away.
I don't.
And then goes like on the splint of your armor,
Mm-hmm.
and then goes twink twink on your cheek, and is there's a pullback from that limb, and then actually does it not tapping, but just like a slow press,
Yeah.
In like to the side of yours onto your cheek, just to see that it gives and flexes, and then just an inch from that, the helmet that's around your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a look at Thovit. Thovit looks back there again, and it's almost, you see no like expression in the human sense, or the surface world,
their
sentient
expression
creatures.
is all body language.
Right, yeah, that it's antenna and their mandibles and things like that. But it's very much like when they were experimenting with Jacob's bow, that they wouldn't quit. You could tell they're a bunch of like just kids playing with it, that it was a new thing to look at. And apparently, like the squishiness of you three is a revelation, that is really, really different. And they weren't expecting that one at all. And
suddenly we're less sisters and more cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sister, lowercase, and then cousin, uppercase. But then Isk is saying something to Shatask, and Shatask says, they wondered at how you could be resource to the clan when there was no history on you. They thought they must be the most larva that have ever walked beneath the stone sky. But now that makes sense when they see you and fight, that they know that you have capabilities. But they wondered at it because you've written things in the inside with your mind, and not on the outside for those to see that are around you.
I almost want to roll an insight, because we definitely saw humanoid skulls too back where we were. It's like, did they just not know what we were?
I was
Yeah,
thinking,
right.
but wait a minute, but Task seemed to.
Yeah, like they know about our mushy carpes. Like they know that we're I feel like they should have. Maybe they just thought Boris was just some sort of a thing.
Half-breed?
Different,
Like,
yeah. As you're making these realizations and revelations, looking at that, do any of you want to ask a question about what other bipeds are down here? There's also a question of age. As skilled warriors as Isk and Thovit are, it could be that they're just months old, or a year.
Right.
Yeah,
Maybe
how fast
two,
do they grow after
Where
hacking?
Shatask
And do they measure time
Right,
in
Shatask
any way we do?
could be decades.
Right.
That they're, when did they see somebody that was squishy before?
Does Shatask have markings on it/her?
So Shatask, all of these this ruling class, these casters,
Mm-hmm.
they also have what's tantamount to like robe-like things on them. There's like streamers of different cloth or other materials.
So they have a different kind of badge of office.
that hangs about them, right? So that's on them, and like, you haven't really stared that directly, but now that you're aware of it
Mhm.
and you're looking, you do see that there is some of that engraving that's on her carapace, but it's of a different nature.
Mhm.
It looks as though it's talking more about interacting with the clan, led to something to somewhere,
Okay.
disagreed with somebody of the circle, and was proven correct. So it seems to be more of like a debating
wizardly achievement as
yeah,
opposed to
I'm gonna-
knightly achievement.
combats. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Shatask that Isk and what's the other guy's name?
Thovid.
Thovid.
Isk and Thovid are surprised to see ones like us, but you aren't surprised to see ones like us. Have you seen our type before?
There have been many over time that have come down here into the habitable regions, the living regions, the place of the clan.
And how long have you been in your position? How long? They said that we're larvae, or they thought we were larvae. How long have you been in your role?
And it trying to work out time for them,
Right.
and says Isk is, and it's like non-translatable, comes out to be young but experienced.
Maybe we can get them to write it down and have Boris read it.
That would that would actually work. And that Shatask said, I've lived 9 times that of Isk.
And Thovid?
And even a greater period of time. Thovid, his car pace is barely solidified. He is so
Okay.
young.
Okay.
That is interesting to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Literally born warriors.
So the many like us that you've seen, they've come from the surface? They've come from hell?
They have. We
I
assume
forgot that's what they called the
they-
surface.
that they've come down through secret ways, hidden ways, thought to exploit us, thought to take resource, and we took resource from them.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's either enslaved or ate, it sounds like.
You're right. Yeah.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Have some of column A, try all of column B.
And then if there's another insights you want to try to get from that when they've completed this, you note, Boris, that there is nothing on the Drens. There's been no engraving whatsoever on those guys. That they're working.
Unsurprising.
And then they're
That is something to
that continues.
Keep in mind, though, just looking out and just seeing, like, oh, who's the better warrior? And knowing what these things mean now would be interesting.
Yeah, the litanies on one of those massive shock troops.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So after 3 or 4 hours, it would be closer to 4 hours, the task is finally done. Everything's been hauled away. And without any further preamble, Shatask gets up, as do Isk and Thovid. And as the drones are leaving, 2 stay with you, and you're off and moving once again.
Okay, wait a minute. She said we're only a day away from this thing.
Right.
I'm putting some tallow in my ears. I don't know if this thing has creepy things that are coming out that could creepify me and make me do things. So I won't put their food in my ears, but I'm putting tallow in my ears.
I don't know. I feel like if I put tallow in my ears, I take a pretty big hit to my perception rolls. So
I'm putting tallow in my ears.
Okay, so you're a day out and you're deafening yourself. Good to know.
Yep, I've got Jast. She'll tell me things.
how would you hear?
Telepathy.
Shh. Let her answer.
Inside my brain.
All right.
Unless all that you hear is Jazz tries to communicate with you is a muffled because you have tallow wax in your ears.
I
Jast has a sense of
sleep
humor and
with
it's just
it,
making
so
muffled
I
sounds.
can pop it out and listen and put it back.
Okay.
I'm taking no chances. Y'all can get sucked in by the murmuring mouth.
What?
Not me.
All right.
And then
I'm
traveling.
immune to charm effects, so the only way for me to get dunked is I'd need to be forcibly dunked.
I have a pretty good charisma.
Oh, hey, and while you're within 10 feet of me, you're immune to charm effects. Because
She
I'm
can't hear you.
that awesome.
It
All
doesn't seem as though they're planning on stopping, that they're not going to make a camp somewhere, but they're marching straight through unless any of you say something. But you get to the point where you do realize you're getting tired. And there is usually about the time you guys are getting tired, Shatask would make a stop for the night, but not this time. You
I
just
ask
press
why.
on.
Why are we continuing to press on when we would typically be resting now?
We've lost time. We can't lose any more efficiency. And keeps on moving.
How much further till our destination?
Soon. We'll be there soon.
Is there any?
That's ominous.
Are
I don't
we
like
at any
those answers.
risk? Are we at any risk for if we don't sleep? I'm asking you this not as a
I have no idea how the rules of exhaustion work in this
Right.
edition. I would say yes.
because then
the fact that
I say we
resting
say
is a
we
thing.
need sleep.
And,
That's
technical difficulties back us up.
do. Okay, so what I found is that if you do not take a long rest in 24 hours, you get 1 level of exhaustion, and it's up to, you said 5 levels,
6.
right? 6 levels,
Well,
and the 6th level being death.
Yeah,
Death.
six levels fatal.
5 effective levels where you're still a functional character.
So yeah, if we
Define
do it,
functional, your speed's 0 at 5.
yeah, at 1 level of exhaustion, we'd be taking disadvantage on ability checks, so it wouldn't be our attacking, but it's not exactly any sort of a disadvantage we want to go into this battle already knowing as little as we do. So we might want to try and convince them otherwise.
Well, yeah, and I'd get my 2nd level spells back.
And
Yes,
spells, yeah.
Spells
true.
be a thing too, yeah.
I'd get my 1 spell that I cast back, which is very
I
important.
think we just
So then how are you framing it to task?
for efficiency we must rest.
Explain the sufficiency of loss of time.
So using non-game terms, we
We
My spellcasting resources are tapped. To have my most powerful abilities at hand, I require 8 hours of rest.
our sensors are sharpest when we're able to rest every day. Otherwise, we might be missing things that might be potentially harmful or threatening to our lives
So your weakened sisters going into this fight.
Potentially.
without rest.
Rest.
Okay.
And then everything just stops.
Cool.
So 8 hours later, they've
Yep.
been on guard.
Hey, I'm going to click that long rest button. That's the wrong button. There we go.
You're like, wait, that was the delete
Suddenly I
button.
killed my character. Ah! All right. All right. And wow, that was a fast 8 hours. How we feeling?
Great.
Well rested?
Well,
Ready
you're,
to go.
You're in hook horde territory, so there's nothing else that would generally frequent these places. So it's a pretty safe place, and you've got the Anuriak standing guard around you.
I'll ask you a task. How often do your people need to rest? When do they need to take time?
Whenever the work has been completed for their assignment.
I slept great. I could not even hear you two snoring.
What?
It was awesome.
All right.
Are these things actually biologically capable of giving a straight answer?
No. All right, and then you're on the move again, traveling for
On the road again.
the better part of a day.
Okay.
And as David,
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Jacob, what I was saying before, that even from before you were resting, there is a different quality, even this far away from the Murmuring Sea, you're assuming that's what this is coming from, that there was that strange kind of acidic taste to the air when you're first approaching the cavern that is where the clan home is. In Chitakdan, when you were first approaching it, there was a different quality of the air. It wasn't as much that it was moving, but there was kind of the smell of the city itself. That this tunnel has that quality, but it's more acidic. There's more to it. It's like a liquid rot with a slight acidity.
Gross.
And you're noticing it now.
God.
So
Okay.
go ahead and make a survival skill as you've been keeping
Everybody?
track of. No, this is just the Rangers. He's taking note of the places that he's in.
You can try if you want to roll a lower number than me. 27.
That there's also a film on the stones themselves, as though they've been weathered, but whatever particulate is sticking to it, it's forming some kind of a slight sliminess to it. And the further you go on, the stones are getting darker and darker, as though there's a buildup of some kind of secretion on the stones.
And
themselves.
do I recognize what would cause a secretion such as that?
Anything biological is going to leave its own imprint in an area, and it seems that an imprint's been left in this area in layers of this thing breathing, expelling mist, certain amounts of moisture, bodily oils, whatever else it is slowly coating all the surrounding caves that are adjoining it. And it gets to the point where it's very noticeable as you get even closer.
Do I
closer
want
to
to
it.
spend an action every couple of minutes to produce a mage hand to fan the air away from myself?
You realize that as
yes,
you're
I
walking,
think I will.
you are breathing that air in that's making this coating over vast periods of time on the walls themselves.
Are the I forget what they're called, the ant people, are they avoiding
In
Nuriak, are they avoiding touching it?
No, if anything, you'd note that they seem to be periodically like almost like licking the walls, or looking at it as being just another source of a snack along the
Nutrient,
way.
yeah.
Okay.
The way that they'll stop periodically, or not even really stop, that if they happen to come upon a cave cricket or a little batch of them, they'll just go right through it, eat as many as they can, and keep on moving, just for
Right.
the efficiency of it. But that's just the snack on the go down here.
Taco
Yeah.
Bell.
Did I did I
Wow.
share my suspicion that the Inuriak rations were just ground up drones? Or
Yeah.
did I
You
keep,
did,
Okay.
yeah.
I think we were told
Yeah,
that.
I think it was
weren't we?
confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You asked what's in it to make sure you weren't
So they're
eating
slightly
anything
cannibals,
sentient.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do we feel like any sort of a cloth covering over the mouth would prevent this from getting into us? If we feel like it would have a negative impact on our biology?
You don't. I don't think you'd think that would do a whole lot. You know,
Okay.
for whatever.
Yeah,
this
no,
is.
I've got the
It's the air you're breathing.
I've got the mage hand fanning just to keep the smell away.
I have one of those.
it's a cantrip. Like whenever it goes boop and it's gone, just boop. You do another one, and it's back again. It's just
I have one of those
fanning
personal air purifiers that people have been wearing. It just like points up towards their chin and just blows at some
Yeah,
fresh
right.
air.
That's a
And
handy cantrip.
Right?
at a certain bend in the tunnelway. Actually, it's more like you have to climb up a couple of like steps through a cave area. You can tell that there's light up ahead of you. That
Freaky.
it seems different than the light even of Chitakdan. Different light than a torch. Because at Chitakdan, they obviously had magical light cast
Yeah.
in different places
Right.
that made like their own kind of glowy, sun
Like a
logo to their
decorative
buildings.
accent.
Does it flicker like torchlight, or is it a solid constant light?
Neither. It is almost moving in like wave patterns.
Like a pulsating kind of, like a very slow kind of?
Yes, much more like that, except that even with that, there isn't pattern that if you had some kind of an LED light that would change colors, you're we're back to red now. That it's not that uniform.
Not cycling through colors.
Okay,
Right.
are we-
It just changes and
Are we ready
does.
for me to cast Arcane Eye and send the eye forward so we could see what's going on?
It's certainly an option.
It's a 30-foot range. I'd like to see what's producing that light.
Is
If
30
it's-
feet when you can spawn it, like how close to you? Or like, because I feel like it should be able to fly further, or is it just like how
says
far
y-
you can get the sight from it?
You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which has normal vision and dark vision out to 30 feet.
Yeah, so that's how far the eye can see. How far can the eye be from you?
As an action, you can move the eye up to 30 feet in any direction.
Okay.
So really, then it's 60 feet, right? Because I can move it 30 feet away and it can see out to 30 feet.
Yeah,
that all
that sounds
tracks.
right. Okay.
Now, you guys, they didn't stop walking, so I'm assuming while that exchange was
there
happening.
is no limit to how far away the eye can move. But
Okay,
can't
so-
enter another plane of existence.
Okay.
So its movement speed is 30 feet, and so it can move 30 feet, 30 feet, 30 feet, 30
Okay.
feet.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
your action each
But
turn
whatever that
moves it.
distance, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, wow, that's great distances.
If they're not stopping, then I'll ask the question out loud and just say, do we know what this light is?
It is the murmuring sea.
Oh,
And now you also hear murmuring.
Yeah,
I
we
put
need
tallow
to
in my
stop.
ears.
we need to call a halt.
That it sounded like many, many voices. Like there is thousands of people talking, and maybe just at a conversational level, but just overlapping the sounds every once in a while. With that overlap, one sounds loud for an utterance, a segment of time, but then for the most part, it is such a shifting. It is like waves or air
A
through
sea of sound.
air
I-
through the
I-
trees.
I'm stopping.
It is a sea unto
You
itself.
can't hear it.
I know, but I can see the look on your face.
Jacob rolls poker face.
I think it's deception.
I can be deception, yeah, if you want to. So
I'm not good at deception. Yeah, no. No, I will actually stop and do what she's done and put some tallow in my ears.
Can I gauge any change in them?
nothing yet. They still seem to be moving forward as though they must have an idea of what safe distance is.
Okay.
And they've not apparently crossed that line because even though you guys stopped, they're still moving.
I'll trust them.
No,
And it's
I,
a little bit
They've
up
at least
ahead.
been here before.
I want to. As we walk, I want to make an Arcana check and see, and like, if I can, to figure out, like, do I recognize anything spelly-ish wise about this? I know. I'm over here doing magical stuff. You guys,
Okay,
calm
so
down for a
go ahead
second.
and make your Arcana check
Just
then.
to see if anything rings a bell. I mean, 14. Like,
and
magic-wise, trying to think about, is this some sort of an effect like that would have a lingering kind of a magical thing about it?
you would
mind
say
controlling.
no
Okay.
at this point, that it seems like it's
because it doesn't know we're here yet.
like it's like somebody with Alzheimer's that's just talking.
They don't
But-
have a plan. They could walk right up to this thing. I say we stop and make a plan.
Boris, as you
Can we
move
see it
forward
yet?
with them, in the tunnel way ahead with that light that's coming through it that varies, you're also starting to see some like plant life, plant growth.
Okay.
That it reminds you of the first tunnel when you guys were getting to Vartengrave, where the giant skeletal remains
Okay.
were. That
So
Yep.
like kind of ferns and walking things?
yes, things like that. The lichens that stick to the walls,
Mhm.
but they're living and not dead. That whatever this is, whatever it's producing, there's enough biomass there that even the residuals from it are potentially supporting its own environment down here too. And
Freaky.
it's leaked out into the tunnelways that approach it as well. So you're seeing the evidence of that out here, that there's lichens and mosses and things on the walls.
Well, that's interesting. The whatever that sludge coating was, probably initial succession. So this is just going to expand indefinitely.
Yeah, that it could. Like
Okay.
someday, like, miles away when you guys first noticed that, when Jacob first noticed that sludgy stuff starting, yeah, there'll probably be lichens and moss in there. And whatever this murmuring sea thing is, as big as it is, if it could push out, it might be right where you're standing someday.
Interesting. Can I see it from here, or is it still just
No, it's still
any indicator on what's making the lights?
no, but they must be like overlapping things that are creating the light, because there is truly no pattern to them.
Mhm.
So maybe multiple sources of light too.
Right.
I don't want to get left behind, so I start walking back up again.
So you're all by yourself back there.
I don't care.
How stealthily are the ants? Like when just walking normally,
They
are they?
never make much noise. Even just walking, it's not that loud.
So I see if I can do anything to kind of quietly get Boris's attention to say, I know you're going to suck at it, but can we possibly walk a little quieter, since we know that we don't want to alert this thing to our presence?
I can certainly try.
Yeah.
Okay, so do a stealth.
So like
But that's
I'll
an automatic
think.
disadvantage for.
Yeah. I do want to do like a think really hard to Shatask, letting him know like we are not as.
Ooh. Yeah, I
what?
think I just proved the point.
Did I say her?
Keep going. Keep
Oh,
going.
I'd like thinking really hard, and basically saying we are not as stealthy as you are. We want to move slower, so that way we are not as noticeable.
And before it cuts off from Shatask, you get something that would be tantamount to. They've got some really big skills, and some things they're really that it breaks off. It's like,
Six?
trying to remember, you guys, like trying to pop out. Yeah,
Did
so
you just say
clank.
6?
Yeah.
clank, 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 clank.
I'm sorry, I've been dipped in steel.
He sounds like a silverware drawer being opened and closed. Yeah,
Oh,
so
no,
he
I
can't,
think
he can't help
open-
it.
Thrown at someone, picked up, and then closed.
And then closed.
What's that spell you have that lets you
Pass
Stealthy
without
walk.
trace.
Yeah. Maybe we try that for a moment.
Maybe we stop and make a flick-flacking plan
I just
instead of
tried.
like walk up to this thing.
Where the tunnel was ascending at this point, Boris,
Mhm.
and then you had to go through, like, definitely you had to get into a cave mouth and climb up.
Into this reeking knot swamp, yeah.
Right. And then you did that again, like climbing up steps. So it wasn't just like you're walking, but you're literally climbing. And then you can see there's a downgrade and there's many more. And at this point, you see things that are more complex life,
Okay.
more like ferny things that are here, but still definitely the mosses and the lichens, the shelf lichens, things like that. The colors are brighter as whatever's producing light. And you can see before you a widening tunnel, still with a limited view. And it is just an array of colors and images out before you. And at this point, the Anuriaks stop.
Okay.
That they've got to the point where they're like, okay, this is our stopping point. We're not going any further on. And what you're looking at is light coming through, casting weird shadows past different plants, points of rocks. But you see things that are, pink and purple and orange, green, blue, that things are creating light at different patterns as it's shining through out of here.
Wild.
And it seems like it's coming from multiple points, and you're in an area. I think the other day, to put it in a human term, it's like the Black Sea. This would be more like Lake Okeechobee. So we're talking
Okay,
about
so
maybe, still
Big.
huge.
Especially underground.
Huge, 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 right. But you're surprised because of the dotted lights that are all around it. Whatever these things are, they're floating,
Okay.
illuminating, and some of them are quite close.
I pull up the ranger so he can tell me what critters are.
So he's waving you forward, like, come
And
on,
like
check
we'll
it
like
out.
offer a
gamers.
hand
Oh,
up.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Still trying to move stealthily? Or are we?
You give it a try. Yeah,
I rolled a
You did.
6.
Clank, clank,
I
clank.
rolled a 19.
Yeah, so you just
Check my stealth again.
move up with
3.
So there's like clank, clank, and then a whisper or less.
I was like, I like
and
this. Like,
Jacob's
ooh,
up on that level.
natural 19, 1. Dang it.
That was a natural 13 for
13. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah,
So-
I'm confident.
You are seeing these things from a great distance that are floating. They're kind of egg-shaped. There's light coming from them. And then way off in the distance now, Jacob and Boris, you see what looks like a comet, like a swarm of something. It reaches, it moves, it patterns, but very tight in how it's packed, and then goes out of your field of view and distant. but all of this thing is making all these lights and sounds all at the same time,
Okay.
and this murmuring is coming through it.
Wow.
It is a truly otherworldly place.
I'll grab my binoculars. Am I able to see anything better?
Right. And Zelen is still back alone in the hallway.
Is Jast
down
up here
below.
at least?
Nope.
the arcane eye is right
yeah,
there.
no, I can send Jast up.
Well, I was just gonna yell to Jast to tell you to come up since you're deafened.
Is okay. So do I feel like I can make a survival? What are you? Do I feel like I can make a survival check to understand like what these things are or anything like that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. See if that gives me
Off the table.
Oh, good.
There we go.
30.
For these things floating, you have no idea.
Dang it.
You have never
With a
seen
30?
before
With a 30. Yeah.
Wow.
that the ones that are close to you, just some 10 feet away, that they're a couple of feet long, egg shaped,
Okay.
and
I was picturing like
and
golf ball
flying.
sized.
and glowy.
Okay.
So they're floating slightly more egg shaped. I'm guessing kind of wide at one end, narrow at one end. Footballs instead of being wide in the
Yeah,
middle.
like American football. Yeah,
Could
kinda
I
like
could
that.
I roll that into being able to understand anything about like the way they're moving around
How
or
are
what
the
sort of
Inuriacs
sensory
reacting to this?
perceptions
Well,
they would have?
Do an Arcana check first. That you both could.
Hey, 21.
Hey.
Oh wow!
3.
What was that? Tell us about Magic Farm Boy.
Yeah, right. I rolled a natural 18 and then a natural 19. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing. Pretty
I'm a
good.
little preoccupied with being in the scene of or this set for Yellow Submarine, but from a different planet.
Yeah.
Jacob, there's nothing in what they're doing when it comes to some kind of weird propellery something or wings or anything. There's nothing in that egg-shaped thing that would communicate that they have flight. That there's anything in their physical form that would promote flight, like jellyfish in the air. There's nothing undulating that way that would say, oh, somehow it's magic. It's magic of some sort that's keeping these things afloat and glowy all at the same time.
And they do seem like they are ethereal, like they are actually present, or do I feel like
They
if
seem
I
that
were
they're
one of my-
substantive,
Okay.
that they are physical things here.
I turn back to Zelen and I go.
You probably can't even
Fine.
see where she is as you guys have a
Well,
constant step.
Zas came back, so I'll move up.
Zass.
I mean, Jast, yeah. Okay, so I move forward and I'm going to cast Pass Without Trace on Boris and I. Jacob seems okay without it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm doing pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, now I'm at a plus 12 with disadvantage. So the worst I could roll is a 13.
And honestly, the worst I have rolled so far is a 13.
The Inuriac are just maintaining a line.
Yeah, I was
And
about to ask, how are they reacting to
yeah,
speed
so
drifters and-
they're more watching all of you. They're not making any like telegraph movement. The two guards, Isk and Thovit, seem to be like on guard as they always are. They do seem to be in a protective stance for Shatask. The drones are just standing there. They're not processing material like they usually would, like taking up lichens. So they're not in any way affecting the area. Once Zelen moves up with the group, you did move with the group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, once Zelen moves up with the group, then in all of your heads, Shatask says, like, behold, the murmuring sea. And then all 6 of them go back down the steps just came up through and are out of sight.
And all we have to do is drink this.
Do we?
not drink.
No,
Not drink,
we
no.
just
Retrieve. They
get a
gave
cup
us like
of it.
special like containers.
Yeah.
Glad you
we
guys
just
are
have to
paying
get a
attention
cup.
because I did not understand the assignment.
Go chug what we're pretty sure is a giant gibbering mouth or buddy. It's totally going to be fine.
So are we confident that the things that are floating are magic, or do we want to detect magic to confirm that?
Well, I'm wondering.
Detect magic, it won't tell us much. It'll just tell us the school of magic, but,
but
it won't-
also,
Well,
if
it'll-
we cast a spell, there's
it'll
a
give
chance.
it'll give us a yes or no on if it is magic.
But it also depends on if anything in here is like watching out for magic to be cast. I have no idea what's going on. But also,
Yeah.
I'm just a farm boy.
yeah. So what do we want to do?
I'm up for it.
All right, so
Do
I'm
it.
going to use the wand of magic detection to see if the little football things are magical.
And what's the range on that?
I think
Probably
some of them are
30
within 10
It
feet,
seems
yeah.
to be, yeah, it's 30
Yeah,
feet.
some of them are very, very close. Okay, so on any of them, they're in that range. There's a bunch near you right now that you come back and yes, absolutely, they are magical.
And I learn it's school of magic.
Well,
Hogwarts.
light in itself be like an evocation.
Yes.
But this almost seems like maybe even like combined with transmutation, like they're processing something to produce a magical effect, But evocation is what comes
Well, the
out of this.
transmutation might be the flight too.
Not necromancy.
So
we're good.
Okay.
Shatask seems to be allowing a conversation, and it's one-sided. And from what you're getting from Shatask is that it seems as though she is either arguing or having a conversation with either Isk or Thovit or both of them. And her side of the conversation that's being allowed for you to hear would be tantamount to, it is not your place. It is for them to do. I know you fought with them. I know that they are sister cousin, nearly accepted. I know they risked limb, life, and resource. Then go. Go. Do as you will and fight as you will. And then in the next moment, both Isk and Thovit come back up.
Good old boys.
Take a flanking position on either side of the three of you. Don't say a word. Don't even look at you. But they're also up there too. And that seems to be a precedent in their own culture.
I'll take things that are
Interesting.
absolutely not reassuring for 400, please.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like, yeah,
All
thanks for
right.
coming to fight with us. Why are we fighting?
Yeah, what are we fighting?
All right. Well, maybe the discussion is, do we have to fight? Is there a way that we can get what we need? I mean, there's a lot of crap I can conjure.
Assuming Mage Hand works normally here, I don't know, rules changing the reaches. It'd probably be our easiest way to dip the container because that can appear 30 feet away.
I agree.
It's all a matter of what's our danger range.
And how close are we from the quote-unquote shore?
So that would be about maybe 100, 150 feet away from where you guys
So
are.
we
so
can
we have-
see the murmuring sea.
So that the vastness that's out there, you're looking at these lights, and it just like pinpointing it further out, more illumination closer up, that as you look at it, you're even seeing, oh, wait, I thought those were just like shadows and the lights as they're moving. And you realize the floor beyond that point, beyond that 100 feet where this tunnel descends and widens and widens and widens with more and more of these mosses and lichens, and it looks as though nothing has moved through them in a long time, that you can see that the floor of this, from your position now, even as it descends to that point, is probably about 50 or 60 feet below the level you're on, that the whole surface is slowly undulating, and then there'll be a point of agitation in one area, as though for some reason there's a disturbance, like somebody, in essence, threw a rock in the pond. But that doesn't even disturb things further out, like another 100 feet away from it. But you can
Threw a rock in the pond's alive.
yeah, and it ate the rock. And that as you're trying to piece together between these little spots of light, which seem to be these things floating around that are drifting about, that you can tell that the whole floor of this, out as far as you could even see and like have slight illumination to see, is all the murmuring sea. This giant mouther that lays in there.
So in order to walk
Freaky.
close, in order to get close enough to even use Mage Hand, we still have to walk in and among all of these floating lights.
Yeah, the
Yes.
drifter things don't seem to be doing anything hostile. It's not like they've tried to bite us.
Yeah,
yet.
but yes, but they could also be some kind of alarm. They could also be something if the whole point of this thing is to
Okay, they're
Become aware.
animals. Nature boy.
I,
You know,
I'm gonna
examine animal behavior.
I'm going to use my perfect combination of Ranger and Rogue levels to see if I can do anything to detect traps as we start walking forward, or at least before we start walking
Well, I
forward.
was just seeing if they're like, hunting lizards or eating whatever's growing down here, or if they're all just kind of like moving around us like a cluster and,
I guess a
gonna
survival
explode.
check first to see if you can tell anything particular in their patterns of movement, or if any of them while you're watching are excreting, they're droppings of some sort, or
Okay.
all the stuff you'd look at that would be typical for animal predator in an area.
So it's a 17 for survival.
You don't notice that there's so much of like a face, but on the one side there is what seems to be kind of like a mouth, and around it are 3 sets of 2 like little appendages that end in like a little cross-hatched hand looking thing that you would no way think that if it landed it could walk on that. They're too spindly and small to make this thing, to hold it upright. If they gather toward its mouth, and that's in quotes, or if it does something else. But you are aware that as their physical form, that there's other little freaky little spider leggies on this thing as well.
I want to stop looking at it because at first I thought, oh, these are just little golf ball size things. No, they're about the size, a foot long, and they're about as fat as a couple feet long, fat as a football, and now they have arms. I'm gonna stop looking. It's like that wasn't there last time I looked. It's like every time I look back at the thing, they get worse.
Now you've all heard of the concept of a will-o'-the-wisp. That way off in the distance, that's what it would seem like the spell will-o'-the-wisp. That they're
now those I know are an evil undead thing.
Willow-wispied out there, but the ones up close are large, relatively speaking, and making that. Now, as far as are they hostile in some way? There's nothing you've seen thus far that would make them react that way, but then you've not really encountered them. Or
do we want to toss a rock and see if they go towards sounds being made? I toss a rock and see if they go towards sounds.
Are you just going to do
so
it?
you pick
You better throw far.
And I aim, 40-ish feet away from us.
A potato-sized rock?
No, smaller than that, because I don't want it to go tumbling down and then land in the sea.
All right.
I see that as potentially detrimental.
Okay, so you can easily throw a rock that far.
Yeah.
And you're throwing it anywhere near one of these, or just like on the ground
just
to see?
On the ground.
So definitely missing all of them, but
just on the ground, seeing if they in any way react to sounds, movement, things in this tunnel.
All right, so
past this.
No, it seems to be
arbitrary.
It's far enough from them that and then maybe a little cushion from that because there's lichens and things. It doesn't seem as though they're reacting to that at all. The sound of the whole thing.
Okay, I draw my bow and I aim at one of them.
How far away can you?
No.
They don't react to that when you draw down on them.
How far away can you produce the mage hand?
30 feet.
So could you produce the mage hand 30 feet away and see if they react to that? Production of that?
Cantrip, easily done.
I do have my bow drawn. I'm not going to be aiming anything, but I do have it ready in case, things go down.
Oh, so you didn't actually aim an arrow?
Drawn.
Knocked.
Okay, so, but you pointed at one with the arrow knocked, and it didn't do anything. It
see what happens.
Didn't even be aware of it when you did that. It just didn't care.
Mage hand, is that a limit of 30 feet, or is that the same thing with the
limit
with
of
her
30
eye?
feet?
Okay,
It's got to be within 30 feet.
Darn, because if you could just keep on moving at 30 feet every round.
Yeah, right? That'd make this
let's
easy.
Stay here.
Yeah.
There's one drifting very close to where you are. I mean, there's a number within 10 feet of you. And one by whatever is happening with what you're doing, maybe in reaction to the rock, but it's just drifting over in your direction.
For the sake of the scientific method, let's only do one experiment at a time.
All right.
Yeah, so conjuring mage hand.
All right.
Anything go ballistic with that?
No, nothing seems to be reacted to the magic of that happening
Okay,
right
so
here.
30 feet away, I'm going to try and get the mage hand to just kind of push one of them.
Okay.
Like it's, a balloon that's half full of helium floating around, and I'm just going to nudge it that way. Because I'm not sure I could do anything more complicated with the mage hand.
They all turn red and start to fly.
You're right. They all shoot lightning and we all die instantly.
Oh, God.
That it would allow itself to be pushed.
Huh.
That a mage hand just giving a little push would just be giving it a push. So it is now drifting slightly away from you.
Okay.
I don't like that nothing we do does
there's
anything.
but maybe we just focus on our mission here.
Yeah, is there anything else moving around in here aside from us as much as we're moving and whatever these drifters are?
As you're looking further off, Boris, past the undulations that are more easily seen, the near end of the sea, you see that thing that I described before as being like a comet, that they're illuminated, something's moving. It's either something larger and it has a very distinct pattern to it. It's like it has like a kind of a head and a tail, or it's a swarm of something. They're all moving and they're trying to, it's chasing itself. But as it does, whatever it's doing, you happen to look up and you see that all of a sudden, a number of things, these drifting things, go boop, and they're gone, and then boop, and they reappear somewhere else. It's like in an area around where that comet was, and put that at about 400 feet away.
Okay.
It's as though a whole bunch of those little drifters just winked out and then winked to some other place of displacement, and part of that comet-like thing seems to have fallen from where it was and is raining down into the sea below it.
Weird.
So they're cutting pieces off of it as they move through it or something?
Well, no, they just dropped something into it, I think. That they were moving around something else. Some of them disappeared and then something fell into the sea.
I thought pieces of the comet, like dolphin thing or whatever it is,
Yeah.
Yeah, pieces of that seem to have fallen
falling
down
into
in.
the sea.
Oh, so when
Is
they
it
disappeared,
the same number of lights?
You just
Best as I can tell.
As best as you can tell, yeah, it's the same number of lights.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like any of the drifters were lost in that. So it sounds like something else then.
And again, there's like thousands of them
Yeah.
drifting around. They're just all over the place. These things.
the time to put on her big boy pants and just go.
Yeah. Keeping a head on swivel for anything else moving around in this
Wait,
area. What?
Why are we moving forward?
Because I can only do the grabby thing from 30 feet away, so I need to be within 30 feet of the thing.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I can call
Lightning.
No, sprites who can turn invisible, and then we can be 60 feet away.
Okay. So
Alright.
then we need to move and get within 60 feet instead of within 30 feet.
Oh!
The sprites, they sound like their own like beings. Why don't we just say, hey, we need you to go and fill these cups up with stuff down there?
That's my point.
We could stay here and do that.
This is my point, that we could be 60, I can be 60 feet away to ask them, go
Or we live a little.
be invisible. I'd like to live a lot, like through this whole encounter.
Well, yeah, but what if that breaks the rules and we have to do it again?
Trying to, I'm not sure what the range of Shatask's telepathy is, but asking, can we conjure creatures to fill the cups for us?
It is a test for you, not for creatures.
Yes, I think it's got to be yes.
But it's my skill.
I was gonna say, I
Then
don't like.
you ask
I don't like the
Shatask.
way you phrase that question. Just say, what of our resources are we able to use to complete this task?
Then
There
you
you-
ask.
I will ask that.
Okay, so how do you frame the question?
The way he just did.
Just so frame it again, yeah.
What are our resources are we able to use to complete this task?
That you must fill the containers, that you must risk resource in order to determine that you are resource. You are not determining something else's resource. All right, so then are you
Yeah,
moving
sounds
forward?
like we've got to advance.
Okay, but remember, I cast pass without
Without
trace
Trace,
on
yeah.
both of us.
Yeah, so yeah, we can advance, but advance carefully.
Right.
All right, then as you're advancing, it looks as though that both Isk and Thovid are advancing with you. Are you guys in a line, like abreast, or are you in a single file, like who's up first?
I did picture us kind of moving in a line.
Okay, so you're all making that contact point at the same time.
Yeah,
All
Yeah,
right.
I guess that makes sense.
The two of them or all five of us?
all five of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's our test. They just volunteered because they're nuts.
Yeah.
as you're approaching, you're moving through this area, you're moving right past some of these drifters, and they're floating about. So did any of you push them out of the way or take another action with those? Or if you do, let me know.
Not if
Uh,
I don't have to.
Yeah, I avoid
don't-
direct
They
contact.
Yeah, I
have
prefer just kinda
mouths and spidery legs.
Ducking under them.
Yeah.
All right, so so your light and angles are changing too, but the closer that you're getting to the murmuring sea itself, you realize there's also kind of a hissing and a bubbling to it at the same time. That it's nonstop, this massive area expelling, various, little clouds and mists of whatever chemicals, saliva, whatever it is. Up
Do I
into
get the
air
sense
around
that
you.
it's the only thing making noise in this place?
No. You get the impression that whatever that comet was, it made noise too. That it seems so different or unusual as it moved there, but it was so momentary and so far away, it was difficult to pinpoint
And we still hear the voices though, right?
unto
Like,
itself.
now that we're here, does it sound like they're coming from these floating things? I'm
No,
guessing. No,
it sounds like
No.
it's coming from the sea itself,
Yeah.
like all across that distance. But
But wait a minute. We have stuff in our ears.
You have stuff in your
you have
ears.
stuff in your
Oh,
ears.
and
no,
I
you
do
put
too,
stuff in his ear. He put stuff in his ears
Who put stuff in my ears?
too.
Yeah, no, I stuck some tallow in my ears too.
I'm relying on my magic.
All right, so
I got the vaccination.
as you guys are approaching, maybe like you've covered a third of that distance or so, maybe a half of that distance, something like that. Go ahead and make dexterity stealth check.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought you were about to say saving throw, and I was like, oh no. 24.
What do I add to that?
You got a stealth skill, yeah.
Unnatural 20.
Nice.
24.
Hey, do we get an advantage because we're passed without trace?
That gives
No,
us a plus
you get
10.
a plus. Oh yeah, so you
So
did
then
better
I'm
than me.
33.
There you go. Yeah.
So with that plus
I
10,
mean, I'm 30.
14.
He's still rolling with disadvantage.
Yeah,
How could you still be rolling with disadvantage when I gave you advantage?
Because
I'm
of
in
his
armor.
armor.
You didn't give me advantage.
You gave him a plus 10, which means his
oh, this
natural
stresses
4.
me
Yeah,
out.
well, yeah, my 4 is now a 14.
Which is better than a 4.
It is better than a 4.
then it's fairly quiet. It does seem as though Isk, and it's like not much noise was made, but noise was made. And with that, the sea in this area begins to undulate. It's peaking a little more than what it was.
Stop
And
tapping your leg and shaking the table. That's freaking me out, man.
that gibbering is getting louder. It seems to be getting more and more voluminous. And it looks like there is something of a squall happening in that area, that these drifters seem to be spreading out from that spot. And the comet is disappeared off in the distance again, as though nothing here wants to be near what's happening at this moment.
Crap.
And each one of you need to make wisdom saving throws.
That almost sounded like a cliffhanger for the end of the episode. All right. Wisdom.
Which of them are within 10 feet of me?
The Thovit is off to your right,
Okay.
and you have sea drifters that are at any.
Which of the party is within 10 feet
I
of
would
me?
imagine we were the three in the middle and they were on either side.
Yeah,
So we should
that's-
both be within 10 feet, I would think.
Yeah, we didn't talk specifically about how you were arranged in that line.
That's
So,
how I want to be.
I had been picturing myself in the middle.
in the middle. Okay.
Boris in the middle, Zelen and I in either flank, and then the two ant creatures
So
on
it
either
sounds
side
like the
from
two
them.
of them are within 10 feet of me, and the Inuriacs are on the far end.
All right. So that it
Get
sounds
bent.
like
So
that
if
both
that's the,
Zelen and go ahead. Yeah.
if that's the case, they're within my aura of protection, which grants them +4 bonuses on their saving throws, which gives me a total 33. Or no, that's a charisma saving throw. 31 on my wisdom save.
Nice. You said +4?
+4, yes.
So what am I doing? So we add 4 to this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
as
your
well as
wisdom. Your
yeah,
wisdom saving throw.
throw.
So that makes mine a 10.
Ooh.
Mine is 19.
Then
Aura of devotion. They're both. I and the both of them are also immune to charm effects. Please
Alright.
be a charm effect.
so in that moment, as that gibbering goes, I'll play it this way: that for that moment, or for a moment, both Boris and Zelen, you pause, and as you're hearing this gibbering, you're thinking for a moment that you're hearing voices, and then it starts to go into like a shriek. It sounds like it's getting louder and thunderous. And with that, you thought for a moment you wouldn't be able to move, but you find yourself moving through it, that you're making that save. You're able to push through that. And that is the magic of what's happening with Boris, or the blessing that's
Mhm.
Boris himself in this moment. That had not been for that, that this thing, it is aware. The sea, at least at this end of it, is aware that you guys are there. But in that, and has anyone said if you guys have stopped or not? I think I heard Jacob say something. Or are you still moving as this is happening?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think
I
we'd,
think we'd
I think
stop.
we'd stop. Yeah,
And
that's reasonable.
as that stop happens, Isk, way off to the left-hand side of the party, is starting to click and make noises and clicks. And Thovit is just eyes straight ahead, face straight ahead, not moving whatsoever. And different portions of the sea seem to be forming like pseudopods and are coming up, out, and off of the shore.
Thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Empire's Edge. If you enjoy this story, find more on mattsinkovich.com or theempiresedge.com. Support the podcast on subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.